All right, good evening, and thank you for your patience. Product Forge has a reputation for starting slightly late. We've been running for 3 days and 3 nights, so this is the end of a very long experience for many people in the room. I just want to give the first of many rounds of applause for our amazing participants who have put so much time and effort into this weekend. The teams don't know the order in which they're presenting. However, the first team up will be Action Lasagna. So if I can get Action Lasagna round to the green room to prepare. So I used to describe what used to happen at Product Forge, but I think it's a lot better to show what's happened at Product Forge. So we're going to play you a short video about how the weekend has unfolded.
My name's Lisa Freeman and I'm from Sestran, the South East Scotland Transport Partnership. So far it's been a really exciting event. We've met people from across different experiences and backgrounds. I'm really looking forward to using this collaborative space to come up with some new ideas on how to tackle transport issues.
Events like this are a superb way of extracting fantastic ideas from people with imagination, combining them with people who are doers and can make those ideas happen.
I was encouraged to participate in this event. I'm really interested in data analysis and how data analysis will change our daily lives and can influence society in a good way.
I'm here today as a mentor at Product Forge to give some real-world business advice to the participants. I knew the level of competence and participation would be high and enthusiasm, but the thing that's really stunned me is the amount of pre-preparation that people have put in.
I think it brings a fresh set of eyes onto a problem that sometimes can be quite a closed space. So having different people focusing on aspects that they're not normally accustomed to working to, they can give us a fresh perspective on how to approach transport issues across South East Scotland.
Although this hackathon has been focusing just on South East of Scotland, it can apply in different cities in the UK.
My name is David Connolly. I am the Director of Innovation at Sistra. This is my first hackathon, so this is a new experience for me. I have been a transport planner for 24 years, so I'm here to find out how others do innovation, to learn from that.
It doesn't have to be a final product, it's just having something that's completely different, a new concept, a new way of approaching issues that we always face.
You know, we're less than 24 hours in. I would say that all the teams that I've engaged with now have a firm idea on the product that they want to develop, and I think the support they're getting from the mix of business and technical mentors as well as the organisation behind the event stands in very good stead to be successful.
The event's going really well so far. It's quite interesting to see how the teams have progressed over the course of just a couple of days.
We've got 2 days of really hard work left now to turn that vision into reality.
The actual idea we're pursuing is enormously overambitious, but you know, if you don't shoot for the moon, you don't get there.
This is a new venture for Sestran. We've never held anything quite like this before. It's a completely new way of working, and we're really excited to see what outcomes we're going to get out of this Product Forge.
So I've not heard any of the presentations myself actually, so I'm looking forward to the enormously ambitious presentation that's coming up a bit later on. So first of all, I'd just like to introduce our judges, or rather let them introduce themselves. So starting from the end of the table.
Hi, I'm Alistair Gunn from FrameWired. We support and advise all the kind of major tech startups in Scotland. Also part of the team that's setting up Seed House here in Edinburgh, the new tech accelerator, and also on the team of Amicus. Interestingly, my first job, which was a long time ago, actually worked with ScotRail and Network Rail, so got an interest in the transport sector.
Hi, I'm Tracy McKen from Transport Scotland. I'm in the Sustainable and Active Travel team of Transport Scotland, and I'm interested in behaviour change initiatives. I'm probably the least technical person in the room, so if I can understand the concept, that's very good. I try to get people away from single occupancy cars into either public transport or active travel.
Hi, I'm Toby Tonner. I'm the CTO of Urban Tide. We are smart cities data experts, so we're working with cities and organizations across Scotland to make them more efficient. And so I'm very much looking into how the technology that people will be using, how they've implemented that. And yeah, good luck, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. So each of the teams has a 6-minute presentation followed by a short Q&A from the panel. Each of the panel members has one question and one follow-up question. So without further ado, we will have Action Lasagna.
Hello everybody, thanks very much. Yeah, we are Action Lasagna, team name long story, and this is Spare. So have you ever had a day ticket on the buses that you don't need to use anymore? Or have you ever had a return train ticket to Glasgow that you're not going to use? Or maybe you've had a car parking ticket with a few hours left on it, that but you're leaving the car park. This has genuinely happened to me all the time. It's a big problem that I have in my life. But wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to just effortlessly give these tickets to people who could use them? So thus Spare was born. So Spare is an app that lets you share your unexpired travel tickets that you no longer need. So what you do is you stash your ticket somewhere on the street. You take a picture that geotags the location, and the app lets people who can use the ticket find it long after you're gone. So we did a survey, and of 175 respondents, 95% of people have had these spare tickets at least a few times a year. 70% of these people have shared this ticket with a stranger in the past, and 93% of people would like to be able to do this more easily. So people are already sharing tickets, but people want a way to make it easier. But what makes it difficult in the first place to share a ticket? Well, 51% of people said there's just not always someone you can immediately give it to. 35% of people say there's a kind of element of awkwardness or a kind of social barrier to get over. And 24% of people just don't quite have the time to go around asking people if they need a ticket. So how many people? What's the potential market? Well, just in Lothian buses alone, in Edinburgh, they've got 350,000 passenger journeys every day. So there's a lot of potential people, a lot of wasted tickets every day. So we're making this not for profit, but obviously we have to make it financially sustainable. The costs to run this thing are low. In fact, they're free below 5,000 users. And once you start getting beyond that, we're only talking about $18 per 10,000 users per month. And once you start getting up to this kind of user rate, then things like advertising, user donations, or maybe a kind of sponsored listing can become like viable revenue streams. So here it is. The key to an app like this is about it being a quick, a simple, a frictionless, login-free user experience. So you click the app, quick loading screen, takes you straight to the map. If you want to add a ticket, you hit the plus, choose what kind of ticket it is, and it prompts you to take a picture of the ticket details. Now if you can't quite see everything, or there's a little bit of additional detail, you can add a little bit of text. Then it prompts you to take a picture of where the ticket is, so people can find it. And again, you can add a little bit of text. You can do a circle, you can do a little arrow. just to make it explicitly clear. So that's it. It's on the system. Now, if you're looking for tickets, then you look on the map. Sorry. And you see all the points around you, all the available tickets. You can filter out the ones you're not interested in. So if you're not parking, you can filter that out. And you can also see kind of recent tickets. So you can see that there's an active community of sharers around you, even if there's nothing there right at the moment. So you click on one of these points, and it shows you the 2 photos that you've taken, a little bit of information, and if you hit found it, well, if you find it, you hit found it, and it sends a push notification to the person who put it there in the first place, gives them a kind of little thank you note, a bit of positive reinforcement. If you've looked for it and you can't find it, you hit it's gone and it's off the database. So technically, it's not too complicated. You take the picture, your phone automatically adds a geotag to it. It uploads it to Firebase, which puts the data, which is just X and Y coordinates, 2 pictures, maybe that bit of additional information, and the category, puts it into a database. Now, on the people looking for a ticket side, when you open the map, you it takes your location, searches the database for points near you, displays them on a map. Yeah, and you can choose. Now, when you click found it or got it, it changes the entries in the database to recently gone, and these will expire after a week. Now, if you what's the word? Oh yeah, and the all entries will expire at 5 AM the next night. Yeah, and future expansion, just things that aren't worth putting on Gumtree, things you find when you're walking around the street, anything you think is worth sharing. Thank you.
And while we're taking the Q&A, can I get the next team up 5 quarters, please?
Okay, so first question is transferability of the actual ticket. Did you research that? As in, are you allowed to transfer a ticket to somebody else under the conditions of the ticket?
Under conditions of carriage?
Yeah.
To be honest, it depends on the service. Lothian buses say that you shouldn't do it, but there's no sort of legal ramifications. It's just pretty much.
Okay, so is that the information you actually researched?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's sweet.
But it's like the actual app itself is legal. We wouldn't really be at risk of any, like, we wouldn't be liable for any legal issues.
Hi, I noticed you had Lothian Buses down as a possible sponsor. Do you think they're going to support an app that could actually mean they lose revenue?
So the premise of the question is that they would lose revenue, but I don't think that we can say that for certain, because for example, I know that I personally would be more willing to buy a day ticket if I thought that it was likely to help someone at the end. It's hard to say without data, though.
There's also a bit of an argument that the people sharing the tickets are just people, but the people picking up the tickets, they might not be people who would take the bus anyway. They might be people who would walk 2 miles instead of paying £1.60. There might be homeless people who would be annoying people at bus stops for change. And it might be getting people out of their cars and using the buses.
I've got a question more around the impact of your app overall to society, so one big issue with transport obviously is there's too much on the roads. Has your product idea got any benefits for making the city a better place, or making journeys easier for people, more less a hassle, if you wish?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, it brings up the efficiency of the tickets. I mean, tickets are being using for the whole time. It's almost recycling tickets. I think it'll bring a real community feel around the buses and around transport. And I mean, like I said, it brings people out of cars. It's encouraging bus use and train use. Okay, thank you.
And next up we have team 5 quarters.
Okay. Beat the Crowds. It's an exciting new website that makes it easier to travel to or from events such as rugby matches, football games, or concerts, music venues, whilst also introducing a new social concept. We've all been there. We've all been stuck in the crowds going to and from events. It's never that much fun. So why not let our journey planner recommend the best way to go, given the crowds, to avoid the crowds, whilst also putting you in contact with other people who are going from the same location or a nearby location to you, allowing you to socialize beforehand. In addition, this provides a service to local transport planners, the council, the police, and the venue organizers, where it lets people know where people are traveling from and their intended mode of transport, potentially months ahead of time. So let's go through the journey. A customer buys a ticket on a website. They get either a link or a paper ticket. The link is just a link within a confirmation email to the Beat the Crowds website, or you get a QR code on the paper ticket. This takes them through to a website. After entering a few details, the journey planner shows the optimal route from their postcode location, showing the average travel time and crucially the number of people that are actually taking that method of transport. And we found in a survey that 79% of people are actually interested to know who else is traveling the same way as them. This gives a good potential for gamification to encourage people to take greener routes, such as through sponsors offering points where they can give merchandise away at the venue. And this gives a clear idea to the customer of what is the best route for them. Once they've selected a route, they get taken here. Now these dots show the people nearby in their area that are also, in this case, interested in doing a car share. They can click to socialize, and they can suggest a car share. This would be the same for a taxi share as well. They can select this and then socialize before the event and arrange to meet up and share the journey to the event. There'll also be a profile. This is where you can say whether you're a home or away supporter, or maybe you'd prefer male only or female only transport, so you're not actually being paired up with people that you'd rather not be. This is the service provided to the local businesses and the transport planners. We've mocked this up as part of the transport hackathon. The circles are all, the bigger the circle, the bigger the number of people traveling from that postcode area. The circles are centered on the postcode area. And when you click at one, you can actually see the number of people and the methods that they're intending to use. As tickets are sold ahead of time, this data will potentially a month or 2 months actually be very up to date. So this is a benefit for many people. The attendees, you get the social aspect, you get the gamification, you get the best route, and then the organisers, the transport operators, police, policymakers and local residents by having more optimal routes to the venue, reducing congestion and greener travel. There's also the event sponsors, the venues, the organisers. They can advertise on the website, as well as actually through encouraging use of this and encouraging the more sustainable travel, it gains good faith with the local community and the councils. In addition, the local transport operators, such as local taxi companies, can actually be linked through to when a taxi share is suggested. Market research shows that 93% of people would use the service and 70% of people would lift share. Also, additionally, 70% of people would be interested in initiatives for greener travel. Also, we went out and about and we spoke to a few taxi drivers. They said it's when a game is on at Murrayfield, lots of people pile back into the town centre and they're all looking for taxis. And they very, very rarely share a taxi. And the main feedback is they just don't know where people are going. How would you know in the large crowds? Now and again, some students will be kind of tech savvy and work out on social media to meet up with people so they can save money for the cab fare, but that is a very narrow amount of people, and this service would actually open this up to the wider people, anyone who's booked a ticket. And on to the future, potential extensions. We could build an API for the local businesses so they get the information as to where everyone is coming from. We can do optimized route planning. If we know ahead of time, we can actually send people updates and suggest we know where the congestion is going to be. How about taking different routes? And also on-demand taxi hailing. If you're in big crowds and people are going to the same venue as you, back to the same, say, postcode as you, then you can actually select that on the app and it links you up. So it's fun, it's social, and it's easy. Beat the crowds.
And while we do the Q&A, can I get Team Hadron up, please? Thank you.
Okay, first question. Why did you just restrict it to events?
It doesn't have to be restricted to events. It's an initial starting point where you get that guaranteed a large volume of people where you know they're traveling there at once. But it has potential extension to multiple different potential kind of different ways that you could anywhere where people are traveling, you can for example to airports or to hospitals. There's all sorts of different ways that you can actually target to group people together. It's where you've got large groups of people.
The other thing you talked about incentives for green travel. Could you expand on what you mean by incentives?
Some of the incentives are around gamification of the process. So it could be that people that are booking a more sustainable mode are encouraged through award of points. The points are redeemable in some way, which may be event sponsors making an offer specifically to them, which is a way of drawing in revenue to fund the platform in the first place. So it would be using all of the usual gamification techniques. So it might be leaderboards, unlikely in this case, but it could also be through points that are redeemable in some way as well.
You mean, one of the things, there's a common thing coming through, obviously people using advertising, but advertising sometimes isn't sustainable. Do you actually think of any other kind of target customer that you aim this at?
Yes, we think there'll be huge interest from transport planners in local government and also the private sector. We know from one of the mentors that the private sector draw on existing data to create transport models, which they then sell back to local authorities. Local authorities know very little about what happens during events. They know more about the typical day-to-day journeys. Even Google, historically, every Monday when you go back is the same. So its historic data actually is based on averages for Monday, not Monday the 22nd of a particular month. So there's very little known about events and travel patterns around events, which means it's very hard to predict and provide when you're a transport operator as well. So transport operators will be really interested in this data, I think.
Can I just add to that? One of the bits of research we did, ScotRail knew that about the Ryder Cup ahead of time, and they got to optimise the routes there, and that worked very well, and that was a bit of feedback we got. But that's not common for many events, and the same venue has very different travel patterns. A different band could be playing a music concert, to one day, Justin Bieber could be playing another day. Very different travel patterns to it. So being able to know where people's attention's ahead of time is very valuable.
I'm just thinking back to the Commonwealth Games. There was a lot of travel planning went into it before it happened. Could you encourage people to use public transport and get the public transport operators to put on more services if there was a demand for it?
Yes, that's the idea of the data feed off the back, that we gather as much information as we can and make it available to public transport operators and other interested parties so that they can better plan service provision. At the moment, as we understand it, the venues are very reluctant to give out ticket sale details because it's commercially confidential, I guess, and that makes it very difficult to predict and provide if you're a bus company, for instance. So yes, it should facilitate better provision of public transport.
Also, for the Climate Change Fund, there were an awful lot of trip share suggestions for it, especially for like local football clubs, kids football clubs, after school clubs, etc. Could you see it working for that as well?
My view is yes. I think in terms of sharing lifts, if there's a dependency on having a car parked at the end, there has to be sufficient parking or a park and ride that people can then choose to get public transport from. So we're mindful that some venues aren't conducive to using your car, whether or not they're shared. So we would factor that into the way the journeys are planned for each individual location.
Thanks very much. I think it's a great idea. I've got one question around the integration with ticketing. I think that was the first slide you showed. How do you endeavour to cooperate with these guys, and how will that work? Have you got any financial models around that, or any ideas how you could achieve that?
I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm hogging the answers here. We discussed this. We don't want at the outset to have a dependency on, for instance, Ticketmaster, because they might say no. And we think we've got a credible idea that can generate revenue through other streams. However, it's an ambition that we would do link-ups with the likes of Ticketmaster, and that we would talk about revenue share from ticket sales and so on, because it adds value to the ticketing process, it adds value to the venues and the event organisers. So we can see opportunities there to explore for revenue share, but we haven't gone into detail on that yet in our limited time.
Did you have other ideas how you could get to the customer? Because obviously that's a neat idea that the offer comes with the ticket, because otherwise how do they find out about you? Obviously if I have the ticket, the link is in the ticket. That's, I think, one of the key aspects here. Have you got any other ideas apart from that?
So other ideas were you could build plugins to web browsers. So if people have installed, say, a Chrome plugin, then when you're on ticketing and you book it, will say for instance, when you've booked a flight, you get an alert that the flight's in your email. So you can have that Chrome plugin that gives you that. There's email plugins as well, and there's a number of other technical ways that we were considering, which my mind's just gone blank. Particularly that kind of Chrome plugin of actually being able to tell when people are booking, then if you've got that installed, that's a different way of getting that. Over time as well, there's the potential to have an app where it actually becomes an app that you download.
Okay, thank you.
And next up we have Team Hadron.
Okay. Hello everyone. This is Team Hadron, and we are presenting an app called SoShare that solves the problem of socially sharing the cabs or your own vehicles. Let's get started. So why have we chosen SoShare when there are many other competitors available in the market, such as BlaBlaCar and LiftShare? The problem with each of them is that they do not have one core fundamental problem, something to solve the issue. That's called social matching. Such as LiftShare has no social matching prior to making a journey plan, and BlaBlaCar has only single journeys but no regular commute. However, and Scoop has no user profiles, which causes an issue of security and people not able to get to know each other. So how many people are actually doing car shares? We took this data from the census 2011, and according to them, out of 10 commuters, there's only one passenger in a car, which is a very horrible figure, given the number of cars on the roads going from destination A to destination B. So what are the barriers to the car sharing? The issues we took a survey actually, and I'm sorry, I'm not able to. And around 58% have said that no, they would not use the service as a driver, and around 54% have said they would not use the service as a passenger. And most of them have to switch transport modes during the journey, which would cause them very inconvenience actually. And then most of them had issues with safety, security, or they do not want druggists in the car. They do not want people smoking in the car. Next. So how our app or product solves this solution? We have got 3 stages over here. The 3 stages are preferences, connection, and pre-meeting. What preferences does is it filters the profiles of each of the user based on their liking, whether they want to smoke, whether they want to listen to particular music, and then they go on to connect to each of this user through meetups or through Skype connection. It's up to them. We give them a choice to do that, and then they form the group and decide upon whether to go ahead with the journey from destination A to destination B. This is the home page of our application. Now when you see over here, we've got 3 sections over here. One is the name section. The name section is is a group name from journey A to journey B, such as Edinburgh to Glasgow, Glasgow to some other city up there. And the journey shows maybe the previous travel that has been done by the user will be recorded over there. The second section shows journeys of currently available. When you see over here, we have got 3 color-coded circles over there: the red, the green, and the orange. The green shows fully compatible. When a user who filters out his choices based on I do not want to go with a driver who is smoking or something like that, or do not want to travel with those kind of passengers, based on that choice, based on his filter or the filter, he would give in a green signal. So I said, yeah, you can go ahead with this journey. And if there is a partial matching of or partial compatibility with other passengers, you will give an orange signal over there. And when there is no compatibility, there would be a red signal. And this would be sorted out using a recommender engine, such as recommender machines, which are used by Amazon or any other companies, such as Facebook. The journey section, where it shows the list of the driver names and the car names and the passenger names, and the carbon footprint, how much is going to save on the fuel, how much, if Hadi had traveled alone, and when he's traveling alone, together with other passengers, how much of his fuel is he saving, how much of his amount of money he's saving. And this is the user profile, which has all details of all the users, what is your preference, what are your hobbies and occupation. This gets to know each user can know about another user. And then we have the car profile, which is very important for the CO2 emissions, because we don't know what kind of car they're traveling on, whether it's a diesel engine or it's a petrol engine, which is very important. The technical process behind this application is we have our journey matching algorithm, which can be done in Python or in Java and C++, depends upon our final product of choice. And then what it does, it takes 2 parameters, an available journeys and required journeys, and it filters out each of these parameters based on the characteristics what user's profile, based on the user's profile, such as he's a smoker, he's a music, or something like that. And then it ranks each of those filters based on some kind of numbers or scores to go ahead and provide the best possible destination journey to that user. The business case. Now, as a startup company, we got to have investments from somewhere. So our initial investors would be founders, family, and friends, and possibly work with Sestron. And I'm sorry. And the expenditure would be designing and building a website, penetration testing to see that our website doesn't get hacked, so that the user details aren't leaked online. And then partnership with insurance providers to provide insurance to the people traveling on the journeys, and advertisements. Our income would be based on a certain fee structure. So that would be the fee structure would be based on a single journey or on a regular journey, and it could be a business subscription for employees where we could tie up with organizations to get a regular journey on a weekly basis, or on a daily basis or something like that. And then all of the payments would be done through our app, so that we have the control over how much each organization is charging. And the future expansion would be taxi sharing and autonomous cars. Once autonomous cars vehicles kick in, we can go ahead and there will be a possibility when autonomous cars can go and pick up passengers from their meetup locations or choices of locations. And then train journeys where we could provide tickets for sharing and travel in groups for companionship, and reduce the, using this feature, we can actually reduce the parking space loss that are required by many of the people who are traveling alone in a car. And that would be all. Thank you very much.
And while we have the Q&A, can we get team A to B up next?
Okay, first question. Of the competitor services you looked at, what integration do they have within current social messaging platforms?
So it's quite common for them to use a Facebook profile, but not to give any Facebook details within that app. They'll basically check if someone's got a Facebook profile and use that as part of the verification. But that's really all we could find. There wasn't anything beyond that at this stage.
So, because one of the things, you were also capturing some other data within the kind of user profile. Do you think about how you could use that data for other channels of monetization? So, rather than, you talked about the kind of business model, but for instance, some of the car data you're capturing, right? Do you think about how you could use that information to other providers?
So, using the car details, the amount of the carbon dioxide that's emitting, or the carbon emissions, which we call, we could provide this data to the companies so that they can reduce their impact on the environment and possibly come up with more hybrid vehicles to have a more positive impact on the environment and the society.
Hi, had you thought about how you'd get people to sign up to the app in the first instance?
Because we start from friends, we start from company, so company could create the subscription for their employees, and we have promotions if they share our platform to other friends, and they could get discount with sharing fees like this, so to bring more new users.
The other thing is that if we were to advertise it to, say, a group of companies within the same business park, say by leaflets or email, at the same time, we could potentially get a number of people who were all going to the same destination but didn't know each other, all signing up at the same time, and that could make the matching quite effective.
I'd like to ask a question about, you had one slide which was outlining the challenges of sharing cars with other people. So I think you said they don't want to drive, or they don't want to be a passenger, or they have multimodal journeys. I might have missed it, but how will your proposal address those big hurdles? Because obviously, if that is still the case, then your model might not work, because people might be matched, but they still might not want to be driving themselves or something. Or will you just be looking at the people that actually are happy to be part of a car sharing, and you won't be looking to convert the people who are not currently car sharing?
So each user who signs up, if they don't add a car, they're basically treated as a passenger, and there's no expectation they'll drive. If they do add a car, they are nominating themselves as the driver, so it's assumed that they'll be quite happy to be the driver. So it's self-selecting in that sense.
Okay, but there's nothing in your proposal that would make people more likely to car share, addressing those particular problems of not wanting to be driving, or or having multimodal requirements specifically.
The feature which we have is the meetup groups for these people to actually meet up before deciding upon a journey. Would actually help them to come together with a plan. And since we have filters where they could meet up with those kind of people they are willing to travel with, would actually help them to come up with discount. We are giving the freedom to do that. In case of business organizations, once we tie up with them, they could allow their own employees to travel within the same car. Ask them, if you want to travel by the same car from the same destinations, how feasible would that be? And I think organizations wouldn't be saying no to that, because it's something that would save a lot of money for both the parties, for the passengers, for the companies.
Okay, thank you.
And next up, we have team A to B.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Brendan, representing A to B. If you want to know anything more about what I'm about to say, there's a URL at the end, and we've already got a website up and working. So we started by looking at what Sestrans, the main sponsor of this event, has to do in the real world, what its strategic objectives are. And it has to deliver a range of objectives which correlate with the Scottish Government objectives, but around things which are not connected necessarily directly with money. Health and environment. We thought, what can we do to help them deliver those objectives? So what does this signify to you? Shout out one or two words. What does that say to you? Yeah? Sorry? A mess. Yes. We think that is a fantastic example of a user experience failure. It's a 200-year-old technology. 90% of the information is completely irrelevant to you, the user. It's driven by the needs of the provider. So we think this is what should happen to bus tickets. Okay, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You've just walked out your front door. You haven't planned how you're going to get where you're going. You're late for work. Just close your eyes for 5 seconds. What at that moment is the dream transport experience? Okay, sorry? Magic. Well, we think it's this. Why? Because you just click your fingers and you're there. But really, it's about frictionlessness. It's about not having to make a long series of decisions and climb over obstacles to get to where you want to go. Ideally, you'd like to give your body to someone else and they'd put it where it needs to be. Okay, so we thought perhaps the best way to start attacking this problem was to look at the user interface on a generic transport app, which could be the Transport for Edinburgh app, and try to pare it down to be as simple as possible. The current one is pretty good, but we think you can go further. Oh, sorry, the problem for Sestrans is they don't have sufficient leverage in this system. So we thought the user interface is a good start.
So what does it need to know? It needs to know where you want to go and when. That's it. Everything else is known beforehand. It presents you with a list of choices, steering you to the environmentally friendly ones. And when the demand varies in the city during the day, we take the signals from the transport monitoring data and use it to dynamically reprioritize the choices that you're offered. So if there are too many people on a particular route, it pushes you perhaps to take a different route or a different form of transport, be that bike or a shared car or whatever. So what does that look like in the real world, in the city, when that's happening? Well, I'm about to show you an animation of how what you see as a user plays out in the streets. So there are lots of people. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish the app description. You press your choice, it gives you information about that, including gamified rewards. And we did a bit of market research, and to our enormous surprise, the most popular feature, and we got very positive responses on lots of this, was that people want game points for being a good citizen, which confirms what the last group said. Okay, so you can also set your settings. So if you're, for instance, disabled, you don't want it to keep suggesting that you should walk. So you say, don't tell me that. Okay, after you get it, as your journey's finishing, it asks you a lightweight piece of feedback. You give the feedback, and it gives you a very quick, on a watch for instance, a very quick personal dashboard. What your journeys cost, what you've earned, we'll perhaps come to that, the reward point scheme, and how much is in your tank of your account still. Okay, so the simulation now, this is a demand curve through the day along the bottom, and go. Okay, so the people are leaving work, going to the bus stop, getting the buses, the red dots are the buses start going down the road ahead, and suddenly there's a bit of congestion. The buses start slowing down. We detect that through the monitoring of the roads, and we use that event to trigger messaging back to the app, to the people who are coming to the transport form, to steer them to other forms of transport. And it suggests, go and get a shared car, go and get a bike. That itself then relieves the congestion. So it's real-time dynamic data to influence behavior. What's the size of this business opportunity? Well, if you look at the total number of journeys in Edinburgh in a day and estimate that we could perhaps help 10% of those travellers at a modest 3p per transaction, there's a £1.25 million business in Edinburgh alone. And this is completely scalable, this idea. It can roll out in other cities. Other people are trying versions of this and bits and pieces, but we don't think anyone has brought together the behavioral incentives with the real-time information. This can't be done, I mean, reaching the dream endpoint, we're talking about the first stage here, in one big bang. It's too big. There are too many pieces to integrate, all of the solutions today, and very, very many supply-side solutions, different apps, different ways of renting bikes and cars and this and that and the other. So we think that to create a demand-side solution, which is what this is, will take a long time. So what you need to do is incrementally add different features over time, testing, deploying, and so on. Every piece of this is technologically developed and deployed, but most of it not in transport. These are some examples, we have many more. But we're not building any innovative technology, we're just consolidating it into the transport space. Next steps, we need to build a minimum viable product, which will obviously take some months, possibly a year of developer time, for instance, and establish all the parameters and make the thing work. But the data exists and all the technologies exist, it's just a matter of pulling it all together. We showed our concept to Scott Rail's head of business development, and he seemed to quite like it. Thank you very much.
Well, we have the Q&A. Can I get Team Oricon up next, please?
So first question is, you need quite a lot of data feeds in order to drive this application. How many are actually available today? What research did you do into the data feeds you need?
you want to talk about that?
They exist, but they are patchy, and so that's why we need to get more data providers on board. And regulators and authorities often have at least policy controls over those. So with the help of regulators and authorities, we can push them to share data, because there are cameras everywhere. Taxi companies know where the cars are. Share car companies know where the cars are. Share bike company, if we can push that to be a real thing in Edinburgh, will know where the bikes are, and so on and so on. This is the year of GPS and sensors, so that's completely feasible. It's mostly a matter of political will and a bit of resources, but not even that much at the current price of data treatment.
The other, so obviously the kind of application is focused on providing real-time availability or the kind of transport. What happens if you only want, as a customer, you only want to go by bus?
We do not want to, I can have our economists respond to this question.
So, well, in an economic model to work, you are not assuming that every individual is behaving the same. You are assuming that there's a heterogeneity. You might have different tastes. I might have a different taste. But as long as some of the people, the most willing, or the students, for example, if they give you a price incentive, you are gonna probably respond to that incentive more often, right, than other people. So we are not assuming that everyone is gonna use it. As long as so we assume a fraction of it, the thing works.
So is it the case that if you can you put a budget, set a budget level of transport into the application that then gives you the best, kind of modes of transport in order for that? Is it a budget calculator, or
the fact that you're able to ask all these questions is why we had the agile slide. There's so much to pull together here, but what we're saying is you can't do that as a big bang. You can't do it all at once. We can line up 1,000 ideas, but we can only tackle the first 10. So absolutely, we did talk about that. We thought about that. You set a budget. In the preferences, you could have endless amounts of preferences. I never want to spend more than £5 to get home, and on and on. So yeah, absolutely, yes.
When you were looking at the different incentives for people to choose their modes, and thank you for putting walking at the top as the travel hierarchy is, how would you also capture the health benefits of different modes? Had you thought about including that as well as the carbon savings?
Do you mean from the user point of view or the provider?
The user.
Okay, so there's a gamified point system here, which, I mean, there's a ton more stuff we've done than we've been able to present. But that point system really, and the whole algorithm for who you point people, what mode of transport you point people to, is an algorithm that needs to be built. And really the issue is, I mean, Uber is trying to do a lot of this, as you well know, but the issue here is public control, because the public control means that they can steer the system towards health benefits, lower CO2, etc., etc. So it's all about the rules that are set in the algorithm, and those would be subject to the control of the public authorities and can be adjusted over time. And indeed, dynamically in the moment. There's too much pollution at the moment. We want more health this hour.
I'm wondering whether your algorithm will eventually always optimize for cars, simply because they're most flexible in terms of where they can go, and usually people don't want to go on their bike for longer distances, and if they can walk, they will walk anyway. So how can you affect that optimization going for the car in the end?
Part of the answer was what I just said. You can actually fix the algorithm to do particular things, but not in a static way. One of the things we haven't been able to show you is the provider back end dashboard, where they can say, we need less cars on the streets. And they tweak the incentives live to do that. And the modes that it will push you to would be suitable ones. So 82% of journeys are less than 5 miles.
Yeah, 82% of journeys, 82% of morning commutes to work are under 5 miles. And they take the brunt of 62% of the added journey time, of the delay that you suffer because of morning congestion, is having on commutes under 5 miles. So where you could easily be pushed towards walking or biking or electric biking. And the point is, yeah, if you really want to stick with a car, we will do the simple thing and just tell you the best way to get there. And that's very simple. Google Maps already does it. But we will provide you first the preferred eco-friendly, health-friendly options so that you nudged towards them. There's a lot of psychology in this. And also, we will reward you more for making the choice which is best for the community.
So the incentivization isn't just the reward scheme, it's the pricing as well. So that would factor into it. And as I said, the point of this that was most popular in the market research was, to our surprise, being a good citizen points. So we would take away points for exceeding the average citizen's CO2 emissions.
Okay, thank you.
And next up we have Team Oricon.
Good evening. We are Oricon. This is Daniel. I'm Zsolt. And let me find a clicker. So what we are doing, let me ask you first to imagine you are leaving your home in the morning, and after the first corner, you hit a roadwork. Then going towards the towards your work, you hit another roadwork, and just 400 yards before you get to your place of work, there is another roadwork, and you have to make a 2 miles detour. Well, if you're not driving, but you are taking a public transport, did it happen to you that you are on the bus, and the bus just stops because from the Heart Stadium, people are coming out, and you are blocking the traffic for half an hour? Well, we are here to solve this. These are all predictable events, so we know in advance where are the roadworks and where the events, sport or festival events. So, starting from this idea, we have designed Oricon, which is a system where a user subscribes. It can be a one-off subscription to your regular or one-off event, so regular commute, or if you're going to a specific performance or sport events, you could subscribe to our system specifying your route and destination and arrival time. Our system stores this information and will match with a database we extract from different data sources. Let me go through what we do. So this is the initial subscription stage where you create an account simply by entering your name and email address. Then you define your origin and destination. We have done a survey which shows that people prefer to give an origin and destination point. And based on only this information using Sistran's models provided by Sistran, we can work out all the routes, therefore all the events which will affect that route. However, we were thinking about other users as well, which don't have a clear origin and destination. Therefore, we allow definition of an area of interest, where we will signal potential causes of delay. Finally, in the first step, you define when do you want the alert. This can be a week before the event, could be a day before the event, could be a few hours before the event, and this will allow many people to plan much in advance. If you have a meeting next week in Glasgow and you get a notification that the trains will stop that week between Edinburgh and Glasgow, you will consider to take your car or just cancel that meeting. So that's our setup phase. Potentially you use that just once, and then if any event which will affect your journey will happen, we will send you a notification message. This can be a text message, an email, Facebook Messenger message, or we could even provide an API if that's needed for specific clients. So that's our application. Let me go through some more business issues. So our users are you and me, the everyday people. we provide this facility for free for them. However, there are potential commercial clients who would benefit from the reduction of any delay, and this will reduce their cost and therefore will happy to pay for the service. However, this income stream potentially is not enough. However, we get through the information what the user provides an interesting database. We will know people's behavior, where do they go every morning, if they attend an event, and we have exact location for this and exact timing, which is used for car sharing setups, could be used for the local authority, could be used for transport companies. Transport companies can plan new routes or remove routes which are not useful. Also, as mentioned, commercial clients could subscribe just to the notification service. We had some insight from Uber in the last couple of days, and we know that they don't use any notification service now. However, to achieve a functional solution, we are aiming to get public grant funding such as smart feasibility studies. This will allow us to build a fully functional prototype, also do some additional market research and user experience research, so we can maximize the potential the subscribers to the system. The technology is a web-based interface. The additional challenge what we had to tackle in this event was extracting the useful information. We used the LIST database to get local events around Edinburgh. We scanned the database and identified the 30 miles radius around Edinburgh for events, and we used the Edinburgh City Centre roadworks data, which we had to pre-process since the data they provide don't have any geolocation. This is a summary. We tackle all kinds of transport modes. We use the local city council provided the data, and we integrate model which was already developed for the area. Sorry, I forgot to put my phone in silence. I actually received a message from Oracle. It says, please aware after party plans, after source forge at 9 o'clock, plan for alternative routes or leave later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And after the Q&A, we'll have Team Smarter Traffic.
So, quick question. Did you actually build the app?
So we've built the kind of front-end registering part of it, where you can log on, select the route that you're interested in terms of the origin destination, and when you're interested in getting alerts. We planned that we would integrate with Sistra to actually calculate which events clash with which routes and then do the notifications. So we haven't got that bit as yet, but it's a thing that we would plan to work on further.
And we pass the two data sets, so we will have the listless event already imported in the database is what we have done. Oops. So this is the diagram of the system. Basically, that's the missing component, and therefore we cannot have a fully functional system.
So so in this, you kind of created you developed the architecture, you kind of mapped it out. Obviously, you didn't get the data feed. Did you actually look at the actual the data itself?
We downloaded the data, so we have all the events from the LIST website from the 1st of January in the 13.5 mile radius around Edinburgh City Centre, and also we passed this data set for the Edinburgh City Council. It's quite difficult data set. Most of the information is published as a PDF file and not CVS file.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's the first challenge. Second challenge is that the description is so it doesn't have a geolocation, but readable text. And other difficulty is that it has the word between usually in it and describes not one location but two locations. But we managed to extract this location and map it to geolocations.
Okay, good.
Hi, I can see that that's obviously for predicted events. Could it work in real time as well if there was disruption?
Yes, could work in real time as well. We saw as a market gap for advanced notification. Therefore, we were looking at that in the first instance, but obviously we can extend to live events as well.
And last question, you might have mentioned it, but I can't remember. Did you do any objective research or interviews with people?
We interviewed people, and 86% of the people currently use some kind of notification of some kind of apps and information online from the traffic. Also, we did some market research, and which showed that in the Edinburgh area, by reducing 1% of the delay time, you can get a savings between 0.5 to 3.2 million, depending how much price do you put on your money.
Thank you.
Next up we have Team Smarter Traffic.
Thank you. I'm Susanna Brecknock, my partner in crime, Jen. Unfortunately, sadly, she couldn't be here. Smarter Traffic is probably the only team here that didn't build a site or an app. One of the challenges that all of these fantastic innovators have is getting good data. The biggest challenges we have in Scotland is the inability or the fear to share data. So one of the things that we've been looking at over the last weekend is looking at a secure data platform. So new legislation, I'm sorry that you can't see all the text because it's white. Excuse me, it lists all the relevant legislation that sits around data and transport and roads and that sort of thing. But digital transformation in government and rapid advancement in smart tech are enabling the collection of a richer, more accurate and real-time data. And I've left my clicker. Sorry. Apologies, my clicker. I'm so sorry. Right, so it's about the platform. It's about shared access for all of the stakeholders, so everyone that joins the club gets to receive the benefit. It's around providing data security and data authority, which is one of the most concerning things about location and transport and sat-nav. How do you know that someone's not sending you into a lake or they're not sending you somewhere where you don't want to go? It underpins all of the fantastic new innovations that you've seen today. It will increase the availability of open data. Go use Smart and Urbantide. Oh, sorry, I forgot you were Judge Toby. Apologies. And it's about the ability to explore opportunities for data monetization. So this is us. There's my wee Chen. I'm sorry she couldn't come. So data currency, availability, and accuracy. The detail is a little fuzzy on this. This is the Traffic Scotland site. You'll notice that Edinburgh looks like it doesn't have any roadworks at all. That's because it doesn't have any data. You can see the trunk road data, but there's absolutely not a single listing of roadworks from Edinburgh City Council on the Traffic Scotland website. This is the Edinburgh City Council traffic site. This is a little difficult to see, but what's right there, that's Lothian Road, and there's a huge bit of works going on by Simple at the moment, where they've blocked off the pavements and got huge scaffolding up, not listed. This is Google today telling me that if I wanted to come here, I could go across a bridge that is actually closed. And then up at the top, there's a bit of detail on the Scottish Roadworks Commissioner site, which tells me that there's some utility work that's going to take place for about 6 weeks, except that actually at the moment there's no roadworks there at all. Not their fault. A lot of it is just around the fact that they cannot get the data that they need. Now, if we could get this to play, I'm going to talk about where we're going to go in the future. Okay, so many of you have seen virtual reality with Google Cardboard and the Samsung VR. This is augmented reality. This is not sometime 5 years down the road. This is actually in use in industry today. There are 5 companies in Germany that use it for pharmaceutical. There's a number of companies that are construction firms in the Middle East and in America that are currently using this. So this is a construction foreman. He's driving down the road. His sat-nav, rather than being a separate device in the front of his windscreen, is actually just showing on his heads-up display. He can use voice control because it uses Android. He can use voice control to say, please open the plans of the building I'm getting ready to look at. It's getting ready to tell him, look, he's arriving at his location because it's geo-aware. It's got GPS and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in it. It attaches to his helmet or his glasses, as you saw. He can open the plans. He can have a look at what it's going to look like in place. Now he's a little concerned, maybe this guy with a digger is getting ready to dig underground. Again, this is something that impacts roadworks, which is more to the point. If we have the data, you can see it. The problem we have at the moment is because we don't share utility data, one of the biggest causes of roadworks headaches in this country, this is our challenge. So, the next space we're going, see if we can get this one to play. This is not a sophisticated, expensive piece of software. This is a visualization tool. I'm not advertising the particular company that makes it. There's lots of companies that do this sort of thing. We've got developers in Dundee that could build these kinds of things. This is using a gaming engine and simple 3D data analysis. Those fire trucks you can hook up to GPS. You have a little 3D file. You can see it moving through the map in 3D. It uses LiDAR for height data. It uses BIM models for the buildings or photogrammetry. It's a very simple concept. You can do animations if you decide you want to be that fun with it. But here's the thing. This is a platform that's free to view. This is free to view. So if you want to see what's going to happen when construction begins next month, that's what it looks like in 3D. Roadworks, the same thing. Now we've put the BIM file in. This is the building information modeling file, so you can see the actual building on the street where it's going to be when it's finished. Now, I'm a local authority. I want to show, I'm sorry, I couldn't get that to pause. I wanted to show my roadworks crew exactly where to put those cones in 3D. It's free to view on a mobile device. All of this technology is in use, exists today. These are not actual videos of cars. Those are 3D models attached to GPS. Now, technically, I created that because I didn't have 27 GPS signals to use for this particular simulation. But that gives you an example of the kind of visibility you can have of roadworks for nothing in terms of being able to view it. The stakeholders that have the data, that's where the real value is. One of the other things is that now we have so many other ways of gathering data. Transport Scotland, the utilities, local authorities are using geo-referenced video. This is a mobile phone camera mounted in your dash, or it's a 360 camera on the roof of your bin lorry. It's going down the road and it's collecting telematics, including when you hit a pothole. It actually registers. You can't quite see it because it's quite faded, but it's registering dips in the road. This is telematics, and it's available in the cloud today, now, on thousands and thousands of vehicles in Scotland. So, what on earth am I here asking you to do? Well, the thing is, we need to bring the stakeholders together to explore the options. Problem number one, there is a fear and concern about sharing your data. Problem number two, we want to make sure that the data is secure and you're not violating privacy legislation. So, and just finally, again, the user interface is any tool. We're not particularly fussed about that. We want to use an open source asset management tool if you want to think about managing assets, whether they're dump trucks or vehicles or whatever. This has been in use for 10 years. So I was going to step you through a new day in the life of a pothole, but it walks you through the ability for lots of different people who have different cameras and telematics and data gathering can work together if they share the same data platform. I'm afraid I'm out of time, but I appreciate the opportunity to let me speak today.
And while we have the Q&A, can we get team side up next? And this is a penultimate team.
So the there obviously, there's quite a lot of kind of data sources there. So again, what is available and what's not available?
Okay, so what's available at the moment? When a local authority. So if we take the example of the council, for example, a bin lorry has a camera. And it also has telematics, so it's got tracking of the actual vehicle, but it's also registering movement and the road condition and so on. That data is there and exists. It's currently held in a piece of software. The company that UK Telematics, which is one of the companies that services quite a few organizations in Scotland for telematics, their data is available to put on a data warehouse in a server. They're quite happy. They say the council and whoever our client is owns the data. It's just not shared with anyone else because there's not a secure platform. So it's about cost and a lack of will at the moment, or a lack of understanding of where it might benefit.
So obviously there's data being collected for the public sector, from providers. So where's the benefit for the customer, the consumer?
So a number of the innovations today talked about things like doing the analytics about the best route, the best way of getting from point A to point B. If you don't know that the bridge is closed, if you don't know that there's an immediate incident, you asked about that a few moments ago, about being able to use incidents. Absolutely, if there's some system for collecting the data. So taxi drivers use a dispatch system. 3 companies in Edinburgh, they all share the information on a single system. They ring up to the dispatch, a single person puts it out, it sends a text message. There's not any reason in the world why that can't be shared to an event system which can tie in with the notification from Oregon's team. So there's a lot of ways that you can connect with other, even private holders of data. The biggest stakeholders really are the logistics and the transport companies, as well as bus and taxi, and anyone that spends money getting from point A to point B is going to be interested in real-time traffic data.
I'm just wondering if it could also be used. You showed some of the road traffic commissioners, road works traffic commissioners website. Could it be used as well to show the work that's coming up, yes, and to actually coordinate some of the utilities to work together?
Yes, absolutely. And for example, the 3D visualization tool, it works in any GIS tool because they all import the same types of data. In any tool, you have the ability to use the time slider and say, this is what's going to be built at a particular time. The company that I work for is actually doing the future flood forecasting system for the Environment Agency down south. And one of the things that we're looking at is taking the underground data, the sensor data, the saturation of the soil type that it is, and doing all those sophisticated algorithms to figure out what the flooding and landslide risks are. So if you have the data and you share it with each other, your surveyors and your SEPA and Scottish Government, the local authorities and the landowners like Buccleuch Estates, and if these people can share data on a platform and there's an incentive to do so, that's the real thing, is that if you have this platform and you've got the service that makes sure that it's secure and doesn't release commercially sensitive data, they can monetize it. And if the people that participate, they not only do they get the benefit, but they also could conceivably be rewarded financially. That's my hope. It's a bit of a pipe dream, but.
Thanks, Susanna. We've built the platform. How can we convince?
No. You can't see it in my last slide. It's not.
How can we convince? The key issue is obviously how do we get the data out of these organizations? There's a lot of legacy systems. And obviously our company is doing a lot of work to help organizations to get that data out. But what do we need to do to really convince organizations that this data sharing is a huge benefit, and how can we realize that sooner than later?
I went and met with Ian Langlands at Glasgow Council last year, and he said, look, I am more than happy to release any and all of our data around planning and properties that we own and so on, because when I was working for the land registry, he said, but we need about £20 million to clean it up, because the last thing I want to do is release data out in the open, out in the wild, that's incorrect, or if there's a small chance that maybe there's some personally identifiable data that shouldn't be out there, somebody that's vulnerable, or there's commercially sensitive data and we get sued. So this is why the big ask here is not asking for funding so much. It's about asking for some help, getting the right stakeholders in the room, getting the academics involved, and the law society, people that can provide the guidance, because individual local authorities don't have big teams of solicitors that can talk to them about data privacy. They've got security around their IT, but they aren't thinking about policy. They look to Scottish Government for that. So that's what I'm hoping, is that we can get the stakeholders together, show them where we're going in the world with the 3D and the augmented reality, and say, here are the benefits to everyone. Here's the cost savings for better information and data. So you couldn't see in the drawing, though, I did actually have my USmart platform in there underneath the main core data. Then once you cleaned it and anonymized and so on, then some of it goes to USmart. So that's
Great.
the plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, next up we have Team Side, and there'll just be one more team after this.
Hi everyone. So yeah, my name's Stefan. I'm here to represent Team Side and our project Transit Talks. Now, I'd like to kick off the pitch with a little thought experiment. So can you think to yourself, what percentage of the general public do you think participates in the public consultation processes surrounding transport infrastructure? And now think, what percentage of the general public do you think uses transport infrastructure? So roads, railways, cycle paths, footpaths. So in this pitch, I'm going to tell you where these questions led our team over the course of the weekend. And to do this, I'm going to ask and answer the following three questions. What's the problem? What's the solution? And what's the plan? Now, we conducted an initial survey with 37 participants and found that over 85% of respondents hadn't attended a public consultation in the past year. But we also found that over 90% of respondents would give feedback online about local transport proposals. Now, Sestran, the local authority, transport authority for South East of Scotland, state that we must continue to strive to engage with communities that are underrepresented in order to deliver active transport solutions today and tomorrow. So we know that communities aren't participating in transport infrastructure consultations, but transport authorities also know that communities must participate in these projects in order to be able to deliver successful schemes. So communities' views are sometimes being ignored, and this means that potentially their money is being wasted. This is a problem, and it's a really difficult problem. So what's the solution? Transit Talks, an online platform that empowers communities to co-design active transport solutions that meets their needs and facilitates planners in assessing the potential of these ideas through rich data analysis. Let's take a look. So our front-end developer Simon has put together a beautiful prototype over the weekend. Now, the key here is simplicity. We want this to be as accessible as possible. So any member of the public can come along, drop a pin on the map and say, I want a new footpath here. Then other members of the public can come along and upvote the idea, downvote the idea, comment on the idea. So this is the public platform. What about the rich data analysis? Well, Daniel has spent the weekend putting together some amazing data visualizations. So this is one example. The public proposals here are green circles, and the larger the circle, the more public demand there is from our platform. So large circle means it's been upvoted a lot. And this is plotted over, although it's quite faint on this display, plotted over Strava route popularity data. So we can see historically what routes have been popular. So down here we can see a very popular a project with a very high level of public demand, and we can see that it runs alongside an existing popular cycle route. So at a glance, planners can see that not only has this project got a huge amount of community backing, there's also potential latent demand here from the users of this popular cycleway. So planners can log on to our platform, onto the planning portal, interact with these kind of maps, zoom in, zoom out, download images for use in reports, get access to the raw data, and more importantly, see with a glance which projects have potential. Now, this kind of data visualization is only really the start of what this platform could achieve. We've got another example for you. Here we have community proposals plotted over the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation. This would allow transport planners to see whether the community's proposals align with government investment priorities and make sure that the government is spending the money in the communities that need the most. There are a range of future developments that we can integrate into this platform, including a draw what you want feature. This would enable everyone, so kids through to grandparents, to draw on a map the infrastructure solutions they want to see. We could perform user metadata analysis to see who's putting forward ideas, to see which communities are represented, and importantly, which communities are not represented, to target future campaigns. And there's a whole list of future further data sources and analysis that we could perform. We've played around with some over the weekend. So examples of these would be taking the USmart data, the pedestrian footfall data, bike count data. We could use census data, so method of transport to work. We could use text mining for all the comments on the site to analyze broad themes and trends over time to see what issues are cropping up. So, it's a great idea, I hear you say. What is already out there? Rihanna spent some time putting together a really comprehensive market research study, and there are a couple of online community consultation platforms out there already, but what really sets Transit Talks apart is this rich data analysis that is a really valuable tool to planners. So what's the business plan? Ian, with his funding background, has identified a number of potential funding streams. As a team, we've decided we'd prefer to take this down the public funding route, applying for grants from people like Transport for Scotland or Sestran or Sustrans. However, there are a number of private models also. Active Transport has a 5.5 to 1 benefit cost ratio, which means that for every £1 the government invests, it gets £5.50 back in social good, and the cost of getting these projects wrong is huge. So as a couple of recent examples, there's a cycle path in Ayrshire that I've heard is being ripped up after just being laid down because it didn't suit the community's needs. And there's of course the hugely controversial Bearsway cycleway. Transit Talking Transit, I forgot the name of our own product. It solves these problems, it empowers communities to co-design the solutions they need, and it provides planners with a tool to assess how good these ideas are. Thank you. Probably need to work on a more memorable name if I can't even remember it.
So you obviously kind of came out from the kind of like citizen, kind of research. How could you pivot this to being commercial?
In terms of the funding sources?
No, about the application. How can you pivot the application from being purely focused to the citizen to being commercial?
I'll hand over to Ian, our funding expert.
That's not our plan, but that doesn't mean
Why not?
Because we've designed it as a public good, but that doesn't mean it could, what you're asking couldn't be done. So there would, we have spent a little bit of time thinking about ways that you could license, and obviously there is a market around transport planning and rich data analytics. So it could be done. We haven't done detailed business modeling around it, but it could be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
There is a very simple and clear way you could apply this to make a bit of money as well. So service providers like ScotRail, for example, or Lothian Buses could put up a touchscreen that has our map using our interface, our infrastructure, with a set number of projects already tapped on the map. And what a person could do as they're walking by, as they're walking by or about to get on a bus, is they could click on that and add a comment at the actual bus stop. It'd be the same infrastructure. The only difference is instead of allowing the person to add a new comment, you just add a new piece of infrastructure on the map. You'd only allow them to add comments on the already specified infrastructure there. So that could be an easy way to monetize the infrastructure.
Yeah. The thing I was thinking about is, from a corporate social responsibility perspective. Did you think about that at all?
Yes, so that was one of the private funding mechanisms that I alluded to as kind of bolstering companies' CSR portfolios.
You spoke about the different communities and things that would be represented. How would you get what are traditionally the hard-to-reach communities to take part?
So Daniel's already touched on that in terms of we could place kind of examples of this in specific locations, so we could take it to schools to get view from children who are often underrepresented. We could take it to libraries to capture people that use libraries. And as I mentioned, we can use user metadata analysis to see who is and isn't being represented, and then target new campaigns accordingly.
And have you got a mechanism for stopping somebody putting in multiple?
Yes, from a technological perspective, yeah, that nut's already been cracked with various online websites that prevent multiple upvotes or downvotes or anything. So that can certainly be achieved.
I'm interested in understanding better. So it's to some degree it's a social platform. The other aspect is the analytical platform. In terms of the analysis, you've overlaid different map layers. Are you thinking of going beyond that, and what sort of analysis would you carry out on the data?
I'll hand over to Daniel at this point.
Yeah, I think it's, when it comes to the data that would be supplies from this website, so you could structure the back end so that you can query the data quite easily, and subsequently you could overlay on many different types of data, which we showed, and potentially build things like a community dashboard where communities can take a look at how their local environment is promoted by their peers, and how that compares against the actual raw data that exists from the government, from other businesses, for example.
And any further algorithms or anything you've been thinking about, or is it really just sort of visual comparison? Did you go into more technical detail around generating insight from that geospatial data?
Yeah, when we did mostly focus on the visual side of things, so perhaps using applications like Shiny just to build kind of data-driven images. When it comes to the algorithmic side of things, I'm sure it's something we could easily put together in order to generate a better understanding of how people use the local environment.
Thank you.
We also did some work putting together a propensity to cycle kind of model that currently exists in England but is not around for Scotland, which I think would be a really valuable tool that could be integrated with a project like this. Not yet. On the way, is it? Exciting.
And finally, we have Team Challenge 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Victoria, and today I will be talking about our... Oh, sorry. Oh, at least you can see my email. So can you email me? A lot of teams talked about data analysis, traffic, because we all here today to talk about public transport and what's going on in Edinburgh, because we all suffer from it. I will try to look at things from a different perspective, and touch more tourist issues rather than local issues, but I think this app could work for both. So, Unicore Travel. As you're well aware, Edinburgh is a popular city for festivals, rugby matches, football events that attract thousands of people. Cities are packed of people, and most of the destinations lead to Old Town or Arthur's Seat. What our app suggests is get a bike, rent a bike, and get out of the city center. Explore Cramond Beach, Portobello, Queen's Ferry. So our app is a platform to rent a bicycle, either from peer-to-peer or local rental shop. So challenges of the app: Edinburgh infrastructure itself, lack of cycling road maps in the city that perhaps encourage locals to cycle, and cycling skills. So that's how our app looks like. So you need to log in, enter your details. App will give you several suggestions how to plan your journey according to your personality or interests. Perhaps you're interested in surrounding areas around Arthur Seat or beach routes. So next, select and collect. Select your nearest location where you can get the bike. You can see the picture and rating of the person who's renting the bike, availability as well. And next, planning the route. So setting the route from city center to, for example, Queen's Ferry. And the great thing about the app gives you a backup. So it gives you a train map and a bus map in case something happens. Weather changes, surprise. Or you're not feeling well, you just want to get back to the city center. So yeah, you set the route, you pay by app, and you're ready to go. And while you're riding, your phone is getting notifications. So you're riding through the small villages that have 1 or 2 restaurants or souvenir shop, and you're perhaps gonna get some kind of deal or discount on your app. So the travel card, the unicorn card, will get you access to small villages cheaper. So the cars could be found in airports, train stations, Visit Scotland Information Center, or just delivered by post. So app benefits: unicorn experience, bike, shop, eat, explore. An ability to explore places that are harder to get by other transportation. Help boost local economy in Grammond, Portobello, North Berwick region. Reducing traffic during the festival period because tourists will be attracted to different kind of destinations rather than just Castle and Old Town. And yes, again, data, selling users data. So we will have GPS devices on the bikes, so we will be able to track where they're traveling and where they're stopping for food or shopping, and then building a new travel ecosystem. So we have not built the app because it's just 2 of us and we don't have a skill to do it actually. It's really sad. So yeah, first step, building the app, getting the route sorted from Google Technology and Edinburgh City Council because the routes do not match at the moment, as other teams mentioned about it. Setting up notifications, securing payments, getting GPS tracking and smart cards. So future progress, just getting these things done, and collaboration with local businesses, Edinburgh Council, Edinburgh Airport, and Visit Scotland. Any questions?
So if I was to say, so you've obviously kind of planned this out quite well. How long would it take to actually convert this to an actual app? How long would it take if you had a developer?
Do we have any software engineers in the room? Don't know. Probably a few weeks job. Anyone in the room to help me out? 6 months.
So again, with regards to, so I guess the kind of applications focused on, say, kind of tourism, but it's helping tourists when they come to the city to be able to explore outside the city using a bike.
I think that would work for local residents or students as well who can't afford rent a car or just want a different eco travel.
So in your research, who were the kind of main kind of tourism organisations did you kind of look at to be able to kind of implement this?
Why tourism organizations, sorry?
So for instance, who's going to be a provider for the bikes? Would you provide that yourself, or is it just purely, so I'm trying to understand a bit more about the infrastructure to actually implement it.
I think it would work as a social enterprise business or as a private business as well, but collaboration of course needed. It can be, Visit Scotland probably would be the first that I would think about, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a government-sponsored organization.
Hi, were you thinking of having a fleet of bikes with docking stations, or was it more people loaning their own bikes to other people?
Sorry, can you elaborate your question?
Would you buy a lot of bikes and have them at specific stations to hire them?
We did not consider buying at this point because insurance costs and other things add up, and it's quite expensive to maintain the bike.
Struggling to find a question here, to be honest. So you said
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Could be both. No, it's. I think it's a good thing. But so social enterprise. So you're not because there was some payments. I think was there payments? Did I see payments? As it was flying by. What explain around that, please? Again, I didn't quite catch that payment part.
We have not shown you all the stages, but you can hire either from the bicycle shop or from a person who's willing to rent his bike. So person gets rated, you see how long he can so you can see how long you can have the bike. So it depends, you can choose either cycle shop or private lender.
And do you have to return the bike? Because you were saying you can get back in different ways, and what happens to the bike?
You can.
Presumably, if someone owns the bike, they want the back at some point.
We discussed that, and we thought that Edinburgh City Centre could have several special wire racks, if that makes sense, which allow you to lock that bike, and several in the suburb areas, so the bikes in suburb areas would not leave and they will remain in suburb areas. So basically, if you want to catch a train to the center, you don't get a car from your house, you get bicycle, you cycle to train station. Yeah, and that's
okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, everyone. 8 presentations. I can see some weary faces looking at me. We're just going to give judges some time to deliberate. So if you'd like to head outside, there's still a little bit of beer left over, so grab a drink. On your way outside, you'll be handed a voting slip, and we'd like you to write your top team on the voting slip. The voting slip's just a post-it note, but pretend it's a voting slip. And we'll see you back here in here in 10 minutes' time. Everyone gets to vote. Don't be shy at the back. Come on. No, I just want you there in case I need some help. Okay. Can you put Victoria's one to the side and Brendan's one to the side?
Okay. So like not last.
No, I want them last.
Okay.
All right, everyone, thank you very much. I know it's been a long evening, and the winner is... No, not yet. So, I have a few thank yous. First of all, and I'm going to thank you again, thank you so much to all of our wonderful participants who've just put 3 days and 3 nights of hard work into this weekend. Thank you. Thank you to our data providers this weekend, and I need this for my memory aid. The List, Lothian Buses, Edinburgh Council, Transport for Edinburgh, Travel Line, and Transport Scotland, amongst others. And thank you to our sponsors, Passenger, USmart, SBNN National, GitHub, XYZ, Sestra, Edina, Code Clan, Social Car, and of course, Sestran. Thank you very much for all your help and support. Weekends like these are not possible without the support of a number of other fantastic individuals who I would like to give some special mentions to just now. So something that I'm really, really chuffed about with Product Forge just now is we're seeing people come back from event to event and participate over and over again. And for the first time, we've had some of our participants graduate into mentors. So I have to leave the live streaming desk, and I promise you this won't be an embarrassing award this time. And by embarrassing, I mean embarrassing for me. Dan, yes. Ewan, yes. So we have Grandad's little helper here and a little badge. I guess I'm Grandad then. We got a couple of special prizes for one of our teams who have been here an awful lot this weekend. Most of them crashed in the venue last night, and we found out some interesting things about them. One of them's an ethical hacker, apparently. I don't know what that means, really. But apparently he's into computers or something. So we brought him a beginner's guide to programming. That would be Gordon. And a sorry tale for Chris. Apparently his bike was stolen, and the broken bike lock has been sitting around here. So we thought we'd buy him a replacement, extra secure pink bike lock for Chris. Thank you so much, of course, to all of our mentors this weekend who've put so much time into supporting the teams. Our lead mentor, Manu, if you'd like to come up. So, yeah. I don't know what that, oh God. Oh. Prosecco and not champagne. So the role of the lead mentor is to coordinate all of the mentors that come in throughout the weekend and to ensure that the teams are supported in the best possible way. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of commitment, a lot of hours, so thank you so much. This event would not have been possible without the support of Sestran and one person in particular, Lisa, who's here at the front. I don't know if this counts as bribing a public official. Okay, notes in the public record. So we're going to get onto the prizes now. So before we announce the winner of Product Forge, we would like to make a special mention to two teams in particular, both of whom have been on quite a journey with the event. One in particular started with quite a big team, about 5, and then has been pared down to 2, and that's reflected in the name, I believe. So I would like to bring up to the front Challenge 2. So Victoria started on Friday late, and then by Saturday the whole team had left. So I don't know if that's anything to do with Victoria, but as the baby of the team, you're welcome. Thank you very much, guys. And I would just like to ask Manu, I know you hate things like this, if you could say a word or two about Challenge 2.
Yeah, I really hate that, but okay. So, yeah, Victoria came to us yesterday with, was it yesterday? Yeah. No, well, with an idea that was completely, well, not completely different, but quite far away from what she presented today. And basically, she was waiting for the team to turn up. Then her coworker turned up, they decided to go out, they left, we didn't see them for 6 hours. We were wondering if they were coming back, actually. And they really went to speak to people, they really put a lot of effort in the work they've presented today. They came back yesterday late, they had just an idea and not really much work done at all. So what they've presented today is remarkable, and I think it really needs to be pointed out. You've really done an amazing job. Congratulations.
So for our runners-up, yeah. No, oh no, you and I, sorry, I thought it was you. So we have a special prize here, so we may guess who this is, the runners-up. Noticed outside we've had an awful lot of bikes outside, so beginning of the event, one of our participants approached us and said, would it be all right if I approached some bike shops? Or actually, no, he didn't say that. He said, I have been, and there's going to be a lot of bikes arriving at Product Forge, potentially. Is that okay? Yes, okay. And we've had bikes from, I will need someone's help here, but I think Electron Wheels, laid-back bikes, and a number of others, and they've been doing they've been here for people to borrow and everything. So it's really added something really cool to the event. So thank you very much to Brendan, and I will hand over now to Lisa to say something about A to B.
Well, what can I say? I must admit, I was actually contacted prior to the event by Brendan with a concept, and I'm sorry, Brendan, I probably was pretty stunned over the phone when you were going through your ideas, and some of the ideas you had even then were pretty impressive. So thanks for getting in touch. Thanks for doing your research into Sestran. I know we're not that well known, and I'm sure you had a lot of fun reading our regional transport strategy. If you haven't read it, please go to the Sestran website and download it. It'll help you sleep tonight. Hi, boss. So yeah, no, thanks again for all your work. I know that you use the mentors well, and the team just worked constantly throughout this, and I only saw a fraction of what you guys have been up to, and that goes for all the teams, not just A to B. But, thank you very much. I don't know if can we get you up here, please?
Thank you very much. There was also a note of a prize which nearly escaped my mind. So all of the teams who have been working with the List API this weekend will receive, each of the team members will receive a subscription to the List. So I think that's, put your hands up if you, well, everyone's hands is going to go up now, aren't they? We will verify this. Put your hands up if you're working with the List API this weekend. Okay, well, 2 hands are gone up. Okay, was it just 2 hands? Okay, and I believe you will also have, and I'm saying this now, tickets to the Fringe opening party as well at Summer Hall. And I will now hand over again to Lisa to announce the winners of Product Forge.
Here's the moment. I'll go and stand over here, sorry. Okay, did we get a drum roll or anything? And the winner is Side. Please come up. Please come up. Congratulations. Thank you and congratulations. Well done, well done. Brilliant project.
Would you guys like to say anything at all?
I would like to thank these guys. They worked really hard and did a great job.
I would like to thank Stefan because he did absolutely massive heavy lifting today on the presentation and last night. Everyone in the team has been immense. Thank you everyone at Product Forge. It's been a really fantastic event.
Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate everything that everyone has put into this weekend. Thanks again to, I'd like to personal thanks to my team for all the hard work and everything they do. The highlight video that you see produced is produced by Jakob over the weekend, which is a phenomenal amount of work to deliver for a Sunday. Thank you again to all of our mentors, to all of our participants, to our amazing judges. And I didn't warn you in advance, Alistair, but I just a quick special mention because Scotland, in my mind, one of the first proper accelerator program has just started in Scotland, and I think applications are still open, and that's an opportunity that's available to, I believe, really all of you. So that's called Seed House, and that will be launching in Edinburgh, and the date in 3 weeks' time. So I think that's incredibly exciting. It's independent. There'll be 8 teams, I think, on the first cohort. 6 teams, okay. So I'd recommend that you all check that out. Now, one last housekeeping task. I would like everyone up to the front of the room for the group photo. Everyone. Yeah, that's fine. Did you move? Do you want to move? Yeah. can we move the front row chairs? Yeah. Oh my God, it actually fits. Right, come on. One last thing. We are now all going to the pub to Dragonfly. If you turn left and you turn left again, go down Grassmarket, we'll be there. We have the upstairs area reserved, so hope you can join us for a drink or two. Thank you very much.